This is my Quipu. So this large green bead represents the cortex, and the cortex is where most of your memories are stored. And you can remember this because the cortex is the exterior part of your brain, which is very large, and so this bead is also very large. The red bead represents the limbic system, and the color red reminds us the importance of having emotions when forming memories. The gold bead represents novelty and attention, and the color gold reminds us that our brain seeks novelty. This blue flower bead represents the five senses, which are sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. And with the flower you can do for the five senses. You can't hear it, but yeah. The turquoise bead represents immediate memory, and your immediate memory decides whether a temporary memory that you have either gets dropped in erase or moved over to the working memory. This bead represents the working memory, which again processes that temporary memory and again either decides to erase that memory or move it into the long-term storage. This long tribal bead represents your long-term storage, where your memories are stored permanently. This pink bead represents emotion, and with emotion it makes your memories easier to retain, and you can retain certain experiences easier. This R bead represents retention. Retention preserves your learning into long-term storage, making it available for you to recall that information more accurately and quicker. This wave bead represents rehearsal, which is the reprocessing of information into your working memory. This orange bead represents positive transfer, which is when past learning helps the learner deal with new learning. This brown bead represents negative transfer, which is when past learning interferes with the understanding of new learning. So a learner gets easily confused and it causes errors. And yeah. The D bead refers to the effect past learning has on the processing and acquisitions of new learning. The O bead the D bead refers to transfer during learning. The O bead refers to transfer of learning, which refers to the degree to which the learner applies the new information or applies the new learning in future situations. This red flower bead refers to your right hemisphere of your brain, and your right hemisphere gathers information more from images than from words, and your right hemisphere looks for visual patterns. This lilac flower bead represents your left hemisphere of your brain. Your left hemisphere understands literal definitions, literal interpretations of words, and recognizes words, letters, and numbers written as words. This black and white striped bead represents music. Music exerts a powerful effect through the brain, on the brain through intellectual and emotional stimulation. The V bead represents the visual arts, where the internal visual processing system can recall reality or create fantasies with ease, with the same amount of ease. This pink bead represents movement, and this bead helps us remember that movement helps with cognitive learning and is important with cognitive learning. This thin blue bead represents foundation, which is where you can't have a higher level of thinking without the basic knowledge of the lower levels. And then this black and white dotted bead represents practice, where practice helps build your long-term memory. And then the last purple bead represents respect, when you have to respect the fact that your working memory has limits. And that is my Quipu.